Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Great to see Hubert on the front row. I'm absolutely delighted today to be in two conversations, one with Josh and one a little later with Reid Hoffman, because for me, they represent entrepreneurship that also tries to look at the bigger questions in life, tries to live lives that are more sustainable and less fueled by burnout and exhaustion and all the things that we tend to identify with successful entrepreneurs burning the midnight oil. And I first met Josh almost 10 years ago when he was the little brother. And his brother, Jared, and he came to have a drink with me in Los Angeles. And they said to me, you know, we have to leave soon because the Shabbat begins. And if we stay here too long, we'll have to walk all the way to Hollywood where our hotel is. And so this idea of the Shabbat, which is celebrated by many people around the world, is also a metaphor for the fact that we all need downtime, that we all need time to disconnect from our important jobs and our innovations and our startups and reconnect with ourselves. And I was telling Josh that when I spoke recently at the Dreamforce, the Salesforce conference in San Francisco, they were advertising this new Cloud One that has 99.9% uptime. And I thought to myself, you know, human beings are not intended to have 99.9% uptime. We are actually intended to have downtime. It's not that God wasn't as smart as Mark Benioff. It's just that downtime in human beings is not a bug, it's a feature. So, Josh, last night we were talking about how in the middle of building Oscar to the success it has already become, in the middle of launching your Thrive Capital investment fund, you also started meditating and learning to turn off your devices occasionally. So how is that working, that combination?
Well, entrepreneurship has been wildly romanticized by the media, but in reality, it's incredibly difficult to build a business. And I found that in this new world in which we're always connected, it's easy to become incredibly reactive as opposed to proactive. And actually, sometimes taking a moment to think is actually a thoughtful thing to do. So I've tried my best to kind of make an effort. I don't know if I've done a good job, but make an effort to take some time to think and write and take some time for myself as much as I can.
And you even said that you occasionally turn off your phone for an entire day.
Yeah.
And just instead think. And it's interesting because Steve Jobs famously told Walter Isaacson that some of his best ideas that led to the iconic Apple products came after Zen meditation, when he said he could shut the noise up and be able to hear subtler things.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly noisy out there, and there's just so much happening. So the more time you can take to kind of actually use your brain in today's environment, I think is a good thing to do. There's just so much happening all the time. So,
in fact, one of your investments through Thrive Capital had been in Instagram.
Yeah.
And I love what you did the day that it was announced that Facebook bought Instagram. You put Post-its on the laptops and computers of all your employees saying, heads down, don't be distracted by the noise, basically.
Yeah, I think, with Thrive and Oscar, we've been very fortunate to kind of do well in a very short period of time, but I think it's important to kind of ignore when people say good things about you, especially in this industry, because people say really good things and then they get really excited to say really terrible things. So I think it's important to ignore when people say things that are nice, and I think it's important to ignore when people say things that are not nice and just be incredibly focused on kind of what you believe is the ultimate goal.
And I love the fact, of course, that you picked the name Thrive for your investment company, which is the name of my last book, because I love the idea of us thinking not just of succeeding, but of thriving. Why did you pick the name?
Yeah, I think like everyone has a best version of themselves. And to thrive is to be the best version of yourself. So everyone is capable of whatever they put their mind to.
So tell us about Oscar. First of all, you named Oscar after your great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And tell us why you named Oscar, and what's your hope and your vision for Oscar?
Sure, yeah. So for the benefit of everyone here, I do two things. I have an investment firm called Thrieve Capital. We manage slightly less than about $1 billion, and we invest in companies at all stages. And then at the time that I founded Thrive, I started a company called Oscar as well, which is a health insurance company in New York. We have about 30,000 customers in New York City. We did a little less than $100 million of revenue in our first year, which was exciting. It's all public, but reporters don't actually sometimes do the work to find that out. But the ambition of the company was to kind of take this relationship or experience that is so important from both the human perspective, but as well as the financial perspective, and make it simple and transparent and understandable, primarily through technology and data. And it's been incredible, the types of feedback that we've gotten from our customers, especially in an industry in which people absolutely hate their insurer. It's been really phenomenal just to kind of see how people have responded to the product that we've built.
Tell us a story that you told me last night that for me sort of sums up what Oscar can potentially do for millions of people.
Yeah, sure. So for everyone's benefit, we do a lot of things that have never been done before in the healthcare world. So on the technology and product side, we give away free prescription drugs. We give away unlimited telemedicine. We actually pay people to go to the doctor. We pay people to get flu shots. All these things that were kind of seen as wacky and weird. We've actually given fitness trackers to every single one of our customers and actually pay them $1 a day if they walk over 10,000 steps. It's, again, about being proactive as just about being, reactive. But I think the things that will enable us to do things that are truly differentiated in the healthcare world is the idea of building this operating system that enables us to understand what's happening in real time. So Amazon or Google knows when a woman's pregnant, but a health insurance company, especially in the US, doesn't know until a claim is paid 3 months after a woman gives birth. So the story I was telling Arianna last night is we had a customer who tried to refill his insulin through telemedicine. So if you have type 1 diabetes, you are not refilling your insulin through a telemedicine provider, even if it's free. So we kind of picked this up through the technology that we built, and we actually called this person. We found out that he was 28, recently divorced, and didn't want to go to the doctor because he had a lot going on. And we actually had a nurse drive out to his house, take him by the hand, and walk him to a new primary care physician. And the doctor said that if we didn't do that, he would have had serious complications that could have not have ended so well. So if you were to be highly emotional, which obviously we can be at times, you can say that we're saving lives. If you were be to completely unemotional, you can say that we saved him a tremendous amount of money in addition to his life, but we also saved the system a lot of money. And I think when you look at the healthcare system in the US, it represents 17% of GDP. There's just so much waste. There's actually an article last week that $5 billion a year is wasted in the healthcare system just due to paperwork. Like I thought the Dunder Mifflin type of job was ridiculous, but I actually am tempted to invest in it after kind of having exposure to the healthcare world.
Well, actually, even more, we see the billions of dollars of waste because we treat human beings as though they're just a body, and what you clearly indicate with the story is that his mind and his emotions were getting in the way of his getting the proper health care for himself. And we see that 75% in the States of healthcare costs are stress-related. So it's just amazing what you can do if you have the data and also the caring to see the human being as body, mind, and spirit, and not just a physical construct.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we're most excited about is the fact that people have engaged in the way that they have. So again, most people here are European, but in the US, if you were to even ask people who their health insurance company was, most wouldn't even know. And if you ask them if they were signed up for their web product, they wouldn't even know that one existed. 90% of our customers have accounts. 85% have given us access to all our previous medical health records. 80% have actually filled out very detailed health risk assessments, so we actually know everything about them. These are people that are being proactive about their health, and I think that's a trend that we'll see continue. I think the question that we got when we were first starting the company was, what if people copy you? And my response, and perhaps I'm too idealistic, was I hope they do, right? Like, I hope everything that we're doing is copied, and it's actually happening. We were the first to do a lot of the things that I mentioned, and now a lot of traditional insurers that, I wouldn't say are run by people that would come to a place like this are starting to offer free telemedicine, are starting to give away prescription drugs because they see us doing it and it's working. So it's been fun.
That's actually kind of a new way of that many entrepreneurs that I talk to are approaching what they are doing, which is they are not worried about competition. That there is such an emphasis, and we'll talk about that with Reid Hoffman later, on the networked age, on collaboration, on people learning from each other, that the old-fashioned idea of either you are going to win or the other guy is going to win is being seen as incredibly obsolete. I see that with the Huffington Post. We're now almost 10 years old, and obviously there have been a lot of imitators and a lot of people doing what we're doing, but it doesn't matter because the ecosystem has changed, and there is, in fact, the more people are doing great stuff in the digital publishing space, the better it is for us. And in the same way, in a way, the more people are doing new, innovative things in the healthcare space, the better it will be for Oscar. And of course, you'll always have the first mover advantage.
Yeah, well, Peter Thiel famously talks about the last mover advantage, not the first mover. But I think, we live in this age in which logic wins, right? So the best product wins. We've been very fortunate at Thrive to invest in companies like Instagram and Twitch and Stripe and Instacart and Kickstarter, and these are businesses that anyone can replicate, right? And their success is primarily due to the fact that they've built the better product. It is survival of the fittest. So I think it's fine for existing insurers to copy us. We're very excited about it, and we think it will raise the standard for care in the industry. But in reality, we have 50 engineers that are building product all the time, and I have a feeling they're not going to be able to kind of keep the pace of innovation that we've been very fortunate to develop.
So we have just over 5 minutes left. And if there is any question here, raise your hand, and we have a mic, right, that can come to you. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask you one more question, Josh, which is about the fact that part of your work ethic goes back to when your dad would take you to construction sites instead of ball games and tell you that you need to keep working when other people are relaxing. How are you dealing with that instruction?
Yeah, so my grandfather was a carpenter, and my father started his business the year I was born. So he was always working 24/7 as we were kind of growing up, and we always would go to work with Dad on nights and weekends and skip school sometimes too. But the reason why we did that, one, was because we wanted to hang out with him, and that was the best opportunity to do so. But I come from an immigrant family, and the only way to get ahead was just to work harder than anyone else. So I think we live in a world in which hard work is really important, but working smartly is also really important. So always do my best to kind of put in the extra mile like I was taught, but it's also about working smarter too.
And that's kind of changing. We're having so much amazing science now that shows that working smarter and taking renewal time is actually a performance enhancement tool. I know a lot of people here are fascinated with sports, and athletes are kind of ahead of this game, right? They've introduced a lot of new practices around sleep and meditation and renewal time because it makes them better at winning. So are you now re-educating your father?
At some point. But I think there's literally zero overlap between me and an athlete. So I think so I don't know how much advice and guidance I can give him on that. But
so do we have a question? Otherwise, I will ask my final question of Josh, which is that we would love you to tell us stories about Oscar and Thrive on the Huffington Post, because I feel that one of the things that we can do now with all these media platforms like ours is to tell a story like you told us about the men and the insulin in a way that can spread the word much faster. And so something that only a few people would know, people listening here, millions of people can suddenly know and find that there are new ways for them to get their health care, and will be good for Oscar and good for HuffPost.
Yeah, I would love to do it. I think I'm the only introverted venture capitalist in the world, so writing might actually be a better thing for me to kind of get the word out. So would love to do it.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.